Hello everybody, welcome again. In today's lecture, we will start a new chapter. We will start so-called interprocess communication. In all of the last examples that we created together, we were working with only one process with only one process object, and we created more than one instances of that object, but it was actually still just one process, one object. Today, we will try to create a first application with two different processes and to establish different kinds of relationships between those processes. So actually, we know from databases that you can have relationships or from object-oriented programming, that you can have relationships between different objects of different classes or between different tables in relational databases, and or in data models, and those relationships could be of one-to-many kind or one-to-one kind of relationships. So in today's example, we will create two different processes, and we will create a one-to-many relationship between those instances of those processes or cases of those processes. We will do it in a slightly different way in comparison to all previous examples. So we first will show, we prepared those examples in front of today's lecture, and we will show the result. So we will show the application in order to understand and explain how these relationships should work. We will see that there are not only static relationships or dynamic relationships between objects of different processes or cases of different processes, but we also will see that we can establish another kind of relationship or interprocess communication, I would say, rather, between processes, such as synchronization of events. We already had a kind of similar thing in previous examples when we only had one process, because in actions, in reaction to events, we could assign and finish in a asynchronous thread another transition of the same instance. So in similar way, we can establish relationships between events of different processes or different instances, different cases of different processes, as we will see. But we also can use the similar thing that we use in one process, that we use one task or form of one task as a subtask or as a subform of another task. We did it with personal information or financial information or property information in previous mortgage example, for example. But we can do the same thing and use tasks of instances of one process as subtasks or subforms of tasks in instances of another process. And these are three kinds of relationships that we can establish between process instances or process cases. So let us to log in into our system. We are here, and we will now, so our example will be about insurance. So imagine that we already have this small fintech company called Start Petriflow, where we created this application for mortgage, and now we would like to offer maybe insurance, travel insurance, for example, because we have this fintech based on Netgrif and Petriflow language. So we would like to have one process that is responsible for instances or cases of travel insurance. But if you are creating a travel insurance, you can insure more than one insured person. You can insure whole family, your children, your partner, etc. So we would like to have another process which is responsible for single insured persons, so for insured persons, and there should be a relationship one to many between insurance instances or cases and insured persons cases. So as I said, we already created such processes. They are very simple. This is a process for insured person. We see it has very simple workflow, and it only has two tasks. In first task, we actually will fill the data about the insured person, and after they are filled, so we can see the details about insured person. So if you go to forms, so we have here a simple form. Now we used 9 columns. Yeah, 9 columns. And in first 2 columns, we have a field with a name. Then we have a field with surname. Then we have a field with date of birth of the insured person. And we would like to have here something like foreign key, I would say, or equivalent of foreign key in relational databases. So ID of the insurance, we said that insured person should be in relation to an insurance case, and here should be identification number of the insurance case. And we also would like, if we will work with that insured person, then it could be from the instances of this insurance. When we will add those persons to this insurance, we would like also remove them and delete them from the system. So we would like to have here a Boolean attribute. We call it toDelete, and it will tell us when it's on or it's true, then we can delete that person or want to delete that person from the insurance and from the system. And if it's false or not on, if it's off, then we would like to have this person insured. So this is a very simple process. And the second task is also very simple. We just have here name, surname, date of birth, and ID of the insurance, all just a visible data fields. And then we have this second process, which is travel insurance itself, and it has actually two also very simple workflow, just two sequential tasks. And first task consists of ID of the insurance. It is just identification number of that case in the database for the sake of simplicity. Here we have length of the insurance in days. How many days do we want to be insured on our trip? Then we have insurance begin, so the first day of the insurance. This is of type date. And then we will have insurance price, or if you want a premium. And it is actually very simple. We will have here a very simple formula, just taking the number of insured persons times number of days of the insurance, and this is the insurance price for us. Yeah, and then we will have kind of just static data field called divider. 2 buttons, one button to add insured persons and another button to delete those insured persons that have this Boolean switch on. Yeah, that are these two delete Boolean switch that we were that we spoke about it here. If this is true, if this is on, then pressing this delete button will delete all of the marked persons to be insured. And here we see we have this kind of relationship. We already know about task reference data fields. These are data fields that can contain lists of tasks. And here we would just like to have a list of these tasks. So this data of insured person will be actually rows here, because there will create a list of tasks. So if we will add here a new insured person, that actually we will call create event of this process, create a new instance of insured person, and add this created case or find this task in that created case and add that created task in this task reference, in the list of tasks that are displayed here. And by deletion, we will delete those persons that are marked, the cases of those persons. And in that way, and if we will click on Finish button here, so then we will actually move a token here. Sorry. So if we will click on Finish button here, we will actually conclude insurance contract. And in that moment, we only can see summary of the insurance, where we have ID of the insurance, where the insurance begin, the length of the insurance in days, insurance price, and list of all insured persons. So in similar way here, we will display all tasks, this task, insured person, of all instances of insured persons process that are in relationship with this insurance through this ID of insurance. Yeah, okay, this is actually what we will do. So now we will take a look into actions after we will try the prepared processes. So we will now go here and we will upload those two processes, take insurance and insured person. And after we did it, now we can imagine yesterday, if we go to workspace management, or in the last session, better to say, because you maybe didn't watch it yesterday, in workspace info, we see that we already added a user called user1 to our group. So user1 is something like our customer of our fintech. So if we go here and log in as a user1 in different browser, and if we change the workspace of this user to our fintech, so we see these are the three mortgage applications that user created in our fintech in the previous lecture. And now our user want to close or conclude a travel insurance contract. So he is choosing travel insurance and saying, okay, create a travel insurance. So we see that this here is actually this task, conclude insurance contract. So it is actually this task. Yeah, this task is here. So we see ID of the insurance. We see here the length in days. So we say, for example, we want to have a Monday to Friday trip, so 5 days. Yeah, and we will say, okay, tomorrow we will go. We see that insurance is 0 because we do not have any insured person. Now we would like some insured person, because there is a difference between insured policyholder, that is this locked user, and he would like to, maybe it's a working trip, he would like to insure some of his colleagues that are going to that trip. So, and if he click on this add button, what actually happen? So we will see. So here we see actually this sub form, and this sub form is actually, if we go here, in the process, insured person, it is actually this task. What happened here, what happened here when we clicked on that add button, so we called a create case event. So we created new case, new instance of process insured person. We were finding this task in that newly created instance, and we added this task. We added this task into that task ref that we had in conclude insurance contract. So we added that task there. And therefore, the user sees here, actually that's the same task. And if we go to all cases, we see that we created not only that travel insurance instance, but also we created a new instance of this insured person. Yeah. So actually, this instance has the same task. This is the task of that instance. Yeah. For example, if I'm filling here my name and my date of birth, so I will just click that I'm a couple of weeks old now. Actually, I see that the relationship was established. I see that this ID of insurance, I am remembering that ID of insurance. So I have actually this relationship between instance of the insured person and instance of the travel insurance. And if I go here to all cases, I really see, if I open this case, I see that really that are those data that are just filled. So I actually displayed the task of a different instance of a different process insured person as a subtask or subform of a task of travel insurance process. So this is what I did. And if I will add another person, for example, Luboš Petrovic, the colleague of me that is actually also doing lectures for you here, and at his birthday. So I see that then I created a new instance of a process insured person and established a relationship and found and took a task of that instance and displayed it as a subtask here. Yeah, so this is what I did. And now imagine that, for example, I would like to add another person. For example, my partner in Netgrif, Milan Shamai, and include his birthday. So I see actually now that we have established 1 to 3 relationships between travel insurance instance and instances of insured person process. And if I go to all cases, so I see actually that really here are really all these 3 cases, yeah, that I just created. I'm not working with those cases directly. I could, but I'm working with them as a subtask or sub-processes, I would say, of this travel insurance. So now I have all these 3 people here. And now imagine that I would say, okay, I cannot go for some reasons, but Lubos and Milan would like to go. So I would say, okay, this is to delete. So I could delete more than one at once. So I will just mark whom I would like to delete. And now I would like to, so, and remember, this delete is actually, a data field in insured person. So it is data field in different process, in different instance of a different process. It is just displayed here. It is just displayed here as a subform, okay? But delete button is here on insurance process. So when I'm pressing now this delete, so what will happen, I will actually remove this task from this task reference. I will remove this case from this one-to-many relationship. So from a variable of type case reference, and I will delete that case. These are 3 things I need to do. So on clicking that button, I should go through this list of instances. Whenever a data field of those instances to delete is true, then I should first remove this task from list of tasks, then remove this case of insured person from the relationship, from a case reference, and so actually delete the foreign key, I would say, and then I should remove this instance from the system itself, because we say that each person that is insured should be associated, should be in relationship with at least one insurance process. So when I'm now delete, or exactly one, okay, when I'm now deleting it, I click on delete, I will see that the instance with me disappeared from this list. We also removed this instance from the case reference. And if I go to all cases, I already see I also removed it from a database. So this instance doesn't exist anymore. So I see that I have Lubos Petrovic here, and I have Milan Shamai here. I can see them also here. And these are people to be insured. And now see, I also changed the finish button to another string, to string conclude contract, in order to illustrate that we can easily change the names of the buttons that we have as a default here. And if I am clicking on conclude contract, which is actually a finish button, what will happen, I will see the insurance summary. So what actually happened is that I was here, and here I was filling this form. I created new instances of insured person, me, Lubos, and Milan. Then I deleted. Then I marked myself to be deleted. Then I deleted myself. That means removed from task ref, removed from case ref, and then deleted. And by clicking on this finish button or conclude insurance contract button, I move token here, and now I could see insurance summary. And this is actually this is actually what really happened. And this is the insurance summary that the user one sees. And in that moment, he already concluded insurance contract. He bought actually the insurance for 5 days starting from tomorrow. I see he paid 10 euros. Why 10 euros? Because 5 days and 2 people, 2 by 5 is 10. And this is what the application is doing. So now let us to check how we created those things, how we implemented those things. For example, how we implemented that if we create a new travel insurance instance, how we implemented that by clicking on add button, we created a new instance, etc. So, and instead of dragging and dropping those forms, we will just use those processes that we already created, and we will go line by line and comment and explain why we added this line, why we added this data field, what is stored in that data field, and what is doing that line in action. Okay, so now we know what it is doing, and now let us to see how we implement it. So, and if we will go, actually we could go through XML file that is exported. But we also can easily go through all of these processes. If you download somewhere process that is in Petriflow and it is already created by somebody else and you would like to see, so you can either open the XML or you can really easily inspect the code of that process in this builder. So first of all, we already have seen what is the workflow. And now we would like to see what is the data layer of that process. Okay, and now we are in the process insured person. So here we actually have just 5 different data fields. One is date of birth, is of type date. Another is type of type text, and this is this ID of parent insurance case. And then is a field for name, field for surname, and this Boolean data field, this slider that is marking whether it should or shouldn't be deleted if somebody press delete button on insurance, where this instance is actually as a child. So very simple data fields. We also have seen forms. So forms are very simple. Actually, in the first form all 5 data fields are just here, and 4 of them are editable, and ID of insurance is visible because this relationship is established by creation of this instance. So when somebody press on the create of a insurance data field, then a new instance of insured person is created, and here this variable, this data field will be set. But other fields are expected to be set by us. And in this second task, we only have these 4 data fields, or just visible. We do not need to delete a slider because we already concluded insurance contract. So it is just a subform for summary that is then used in the mother or in the parent insurance process case. Here, if we go here, we see we have just a system role, but we didn't use it. And we have no actions. How to see whether we have actions? We can go through data fields and click on all of them, and we see that we have 0 actions here. And we can go to transitions. We see that we have 0 transitions, 0 events on tasks, T1 and T2, and 0 events on data references of those tasks. We also have no no actions on roles, no actions on case and process, and we do not have any functions. So we really see that the process is just simple. And all of this logic, all of this establishing connection, establishing relationships, adding data, adding tasks as subtasks, creating the relationship, removing them, etc., is done in this second process, which is, by the way, also very simple. It also has just this simple workflow. As we said, we already explained, it has very simple form here, and we explained what is the functionality. Remember that we have add button and delete button here, and those add button and delete button will have associated actions. And we also will need an action associated on setting the insurance length, because if we set insurance length, we would like to recompute insurance price. So we will have 3 actions on data fields. And this is also simple. Here are just these 4 data fields and task reference to these tasks of insured persons that are in one-to-many relationship with this insurance case. Now, let's go back to inspect data fields. What kind of data fields do we have and do we need in this process? We have some of them are displayed on forms, but some of them are just used in actions. So we have add insured person, which is this button. This button that is displayed with placeholder add. This is actually this button that we press that button and then we create a new insured person. Then we have delete, which is this delete button. Then we have case ref, which is a data type that can contain IDs of instances of different processes. As we will see in the code, data fields of type case ref should have set the set of processes, instances of which can be in list of cases that create value of this data field. So it's something like if you have a collection, you would like to say collection of which kind of objects do you have. For example, here we will say that this case ref with ID cases insured persons could only have instances of the process insured person and no other processes. Yeah? So to make sure that this list of cases that are in a relationship with insurance are only instances of that process and no other process. So we called such list of processes that are allowed or allowed net, yeah, as we will see, allowed nets, sorry, a list of allowed nets, because sometimes we call processes nets, which comes from historical fact that for workflows we use Petri nets. So we explained what is the purpose of these 3 variables. Now this divider is actually divider that was used here. This is actually a static text Yeah, we see that this divider has an initial value, insured person, that is actually, and we see that this divider is on both these forms just visible, so it is just to make a visual division between this part of the form and these subforms. Yeah, and it's used also here, but here is used from one side to another side. Here is used just for first 7 columns because 8th and 9th columns are used for add and delete buttons. Okay, if we go back to the data attributes, so another data field that we have in this process is ID of insurance case. And this is actually this ID that we will use as a foreign key. Yeah, so this is something where we will store the ID of this instance, and we will set this ID to all children, so to all instances of insured persons that were created by pressing add button. Here we will store the ID of the process insured person itself, just to set this allowed net, so just to set which kind of instances could be stored in this variable cases insured persons, which store itself all n children, all n insured persons that are associated with the instance of the insurance itself. Here, insurance begin is clear. It was used on forms. It is the date when the insurance should start. Insurance price, we also explained what it is. Length is the insurance length in days. It's of type number. And now we have these two variables. The first is tasks, data of insured persons. It means this is a list of these tasks of associated insured persons. And this second one is very similar. It is just another variable, and it will contain these tasks with summary of insured persons. And this one, task data of insured person, will be displayed here when we are just filling those names, surnames, etc. And the second one, this will be used here in insurance summary, just to display, just to make visible the data of insured persons. Okay, so now we explained what purpose do the different data attributes have. Some of them are used on the forms, as we have seen, and some of them will be used just in actions. And now we go to the most difficult part to handle or to understand, and these are those actions where we need a little bit of coding. So it is not purely no code. So we need a little bit of coding, but we can explain very easily why each and every line of code is there and what it is doing. So the first action will be reaction to event assign here. So if we are assigning this transition, so actually imagine that somebody is clicking here and creating a new travel insurance. Yeah, and in that moment, this is created. And I don't need to assign because here we have auto-assign policy, as we already know from previous examples. So at the moment that it is created, automatically this task is assigned to the logged user. Yeah, logged user get this task. And here on assign, this is the code that is executed. And here we go line by line. First of all, these first 3 lines are doing just mapping of XML IDs to parameters of this function or of this action. Yeah, so ID, they have actually the same, they are the same strings, just saying, okay, field ID of insurance case will be used here in action under the name ID of insurance case. The same for cases insured person and the same for ID of process insured persons. So actually the 4 lines, effective 4 lines of code are just these 4 lines. Okay? And now let us to explain line by line. This first line, what is this first line doing of the code? So by def, we are defining actually a local variable called prefix process ID. If you are downloading our platform from GitHub or you are buying that platform, you don't need to do this. But because we are using this free workspace, here, remember that if we go to workspace info, so actually our workspace path is this, start Petriflow. And if you register, you will have your own workspace path. And each and every process that we upload actually has ID workspace path / and then the ID of the process itself. And if we go here, so we see that this process has ID insured person. But if we upload that process to a workspace, it no longer has ID just insured person, but it also has ID workspace / include person. So, and what we want that this allowed nets will be this process that we will make this create, but it will be this process, that instances of this process we want to create, insured person, but in that workspace, where in the same workspace, where is the insurance process. So what we are doing actually here, we are saying, okay, take use case, and use case is actually the case in which this action is called. So it is this insurance case. It is this insurance case. Dot process identifier means that this piece of code will give me process identifier of this insurance case. And process identifier of this insurance case is workspace / insurance. Yeah? And now I would like to get that prefix, that workspace. So I'm saying, okay, take this use case, takes process identifier, split it, and take the last thing and remove that last thing from the process identifier. So what will actually happen? I have a process identifier, my workspace / insurance, and I'm saying, okay, take this and remove insurance from that. And what will remain is name of my workspace. Actually, we have also a variable. We could use here variable or keyword workspace that is giving the workspace, but it would not work in anonymous view. It would only work for logged users, but maybe we would like to make it more general. So this is a trick in which you can get the workspace or prefix of the process identifier, and we say, okay, now take the data field ID of process insured person, and we would think that this ID is insured person, but now we need to take this prefix that we now identify, this workspace, yeah, and then add insured persons to that workspace. So what we did with the line 4, we actually took the whole identifier and removed the actual identifier of the process, what state was prefix. And then we took that prefix and added actual identifier from XML file to that prefix. Yeah? In that way, now in the variable ID of process insured person, now there is the whole path of uploaded process insured person. When we did this trick, yeah, so now we go to line 6 and we say, okay, change cases insured persons, so but not value of the data field, but its attribute allowed nets to ID of process insured persons dot value. So what actually happened here, we are actually saying that only instances of workspace slash insured person process so only instances of that process uploaded in that workspace can be used as values. Only those are allowed nets in cases insured person case ref. Yeah. And the last thing that we are saying, okay, take use case dot string ID and set it as a value of ID of insurance case. So now in ID of insurance case, we have this string ID of the use case. This is actually this here. In that way, we got in this variable. Sorry. No. Here in this travel insurance, it is this ID of insurance. It is this ID of insurance. So this ID of insurance, because if we go here is ID of insurance case. Here is displayed. And what we actually saying now in this action, assign, yeah, we change this and we set there the value use case dot string ID. So now we got the string ID of the insurance and set it to this data field. Yeah, this is everything what we did. So actually these two lines could actually appear a little bit weird, but we really just made a trick that we actually split the whole identifier and identify the prefix, a workspace, and actual ID of the process. And then took this workspace and added the second process to that workspace, so to create the full actual ID of the process. Because we imagine that you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 people uploading the same process in this shared environment here, because you can create your own workspace and etc. As I said, if you will write applications for your own instance of Netgrif and not this shared one that is used just to actually try Petriflow and Netgrif. So you don't need to do those 2 lines because you will have only your workspace. Okay. Here we just set the allowedness. We actually said only insured person cases can be in cases insured person variable, which is of type caseref. And here we just got the ID of the insurance itself. Now we will go to these 2 buttons, add insured person and delete insured person. So, because remember, after you assign this, so then you are actually filling this form. So you can press add button and delete button, and you can change the length insurance in days. So these are just 3 things that you where you call some actions from data fields. And if we go to data variables, we really see, okay, we will start with the simplest action, and this is this insurance length. Insurance length, if we go here on set, has a very simple action. After we set the length, we set, for example, 5 days. So again, these are just mappings. These are just mappings between XML and parameters, and we have just one effective code line here, which is change insurance price value to this. And we are taking value of the variable length, which we, for example, set to 5 days, times this task ref, tasks data of insured persons, dot value dot size. What it means, it actually means that here it takes this task ref and computes how many entries, how many elements are in this task ref list. Yeah? If we go here, for example here, we see that here we have two those elements, one for Lubos and one for Milan. So it means that for that case, task data of insured person dot value is that list, where is ID of Lubos and ID of Milan, and size of that list is 2. So therefore 5 by 2 were 10. Yeah. So this is what was called just this one line when we changed the length of the insurance, and when we would change it from 5 to 7 days, this would be called again, because it's called anytime and executed when the value of this data variable is changed. And now we have two other actions on set events of data variables. One is what should happen when we click on Add button. When we click on Add button, when we click on Add button, what should happen? So this will happen. Again, this is just the mapping. So these first 5 lines are just the mapping of XML IDs two parameters. They are named the same. We use the same strings, so we don't need to explain this mapping. Yeah. So we actually have this code lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code that are executed in the moment when we press on add button. And we already know what should happen. So first of all, we are by def new insured person, we are creating just new variable, a local, where we will store ID or of this newly created instance. And here we call create case with parameter ID of process insured person dot value. And ID of process insured persons is now our workspace slash insured person. So calling this line a new instance of this process, so of process insured persons uploaded in that workspace is created and returned and stored in this new insured person variable. Okay, so now we have created in that moment what actually happened. We can create a new insurance again to illustrate it. Actually, if we clicked here, first thing that happened, that was this create. Now what happened again? What happened in this second line? We created new instance of this, but we should find this task. We should find this task. So in this second line, or I would say line 7, we are finding the task and storing it in another local variable, task data insured person. So we are calling find task method. And in this find task, we are using so-called closures. It is something like query by example in old times. So it is taking it, like this case, taking case ID of this case, or it is taking such tasks that those tasks have case ID. So those tasks belong to those cases that equal to new insured person string ID. But new insured person is actually this new person that we created. So actually we are taking those tasks that are actually in these newly created cases. And which tasks are in this we create this case, and it is in this state. The only task that is in this case is this task. Yeah, it could be more. Therefore, we are not just saying, okay, give me the task that is green in new insured person, which is doing actually this part of this closure. But we also say, okay, and moreover, and we want that transition ID of this task is T1, because it might be that here would be more green. But if we go here, we see that this green is T1. So in that way, it is giving me that task that is from this newly created instance. And in this newly created instance has ID T1. So in that way, it is giving me back this concrete task, this one. So this line 7 is giving me such a task that its case ID is the same as ID of this new insured person case, and it is T1 in that case. It has ID T1 in that case. And that task I'm storing here. So now I have this case here, and I have this task here. Yeah, this is what I did in 6 and 7. So in 6, I created that case and stored him in that variable, new insured person. And in that line 8, that I did in line 6. And in line 7, I actually found that task. I found the task and stored it in this variable task data insured person. Now, I'm assigning that task. I'm calling assign task, similar as we did in mortgage example, but I'm not assigning approve task, but I'm assigning now a task in different process. So I'm actually now, I created this, and I am actually finding this task and assigning that task. So this is what I did here in 8. Now, I would like to take this ID of process insurance. I would like to take this and set it in this data variable of that case. And this is actually what I'm doing in line 9. I'm calling set data in T1 of new insured person. Remember, in T1 of new insured person, I have this ID of insurance case. In this is T1. Yeah, and in this T1 of this new case, yeah, I am setting data field ID of insurance case. So I'm setting actually this ID of I'm setting ID of insurance case. Its value, because it might have more attributes like behavior, etc., etc. I'm setting its value to use case string ID. A use case string ID is actually this. This is use case string ID. Yeah? This is ID of that insurance. And I'm setting this here. In that way, this process instance will know who is its father or mother or parent. Yeah? It will know that. And type of that value is text. Actually, you see here, set data has a syntax. You can take a look to the documentation. It has a syntax that first parameter is in which transition or in which task of which case, and then there is a map. Which data field and which of its attributes and of which type. So you see, this is actually a map. A map which has just one actually data field and the values of different attributes of that data field, like value, type, etc., maybe behavior, are again set in a map where we say, okay, for value, take this, for type, take this, for behavior, you could take this, etc., etc. So it is a map in a map. And in that way, we actually took this ID of this instance and set it actually here. In this line, we took this and set it here. Set it here. And in these two lines, 10 and 11, what we did, we changed this case ref. So we said, okay, take children of this instance, take the old value, and add this new insured person string ID to the list of cases that you are storing. Like at the moment when we clicked first time on that add button, case insured person's value was empty. So we just added first insured persons. But if we clicked 5 times on the button, so we already have list of 5 IDs of 5 different cases. And if we click 6 times, so a new is created and is added to that list. So with this line, we are adding to case ref ID, string ID of newly created insured person. Yeah? But it is not enough, because this is not case. This is not the displayed case. We need here to display a task. So what we actually did, we actually took this case or ID of this case and added it to case ref. But we also need to take this task and add it to a task ref as a subform. And this is actually, see, because we have in these two 6, 7, we stored the case and we stored that task. So here we added this case to case ref, and here we did the similar thing. We took the task ref, task data of insured person value, took the old value, and with this plus, we added this new tasks. Take a look, here is tasks. Here is tasks data of insured person, and here is just task data of insured person. So first is referring to this task ref, yeah, and second is this local variable, this identified task. So we took this identified task, this one of the newly created object, and added it to that task ref. Yeah. This is what we did. So actually, now when I'm clicking here, so first I am creating that field, storing case, storing task, and then I am adding the case to case ref and adding that task to this task ref, because at that moment I just have task ref with 1, and I now added second line in that task ref, second task to that task ref. So I have now a list of 2 tasks. 2 different instances have this task there displayed. And this is actually what I did in lines 10 and 11. And in line 12, I actually changed the value of insurance price, and I again took length of the insurance in days, and because I added now the tasks, now for example I see when I have insurance is 5, so I see 10, and now when I'm adding this 11, this 11th line is doing this, that is recomputing from 10 to 15 because it's taking this. I added third line, so size is now 3, 3 times 5 is 15. So after I added the task, I'm taking what this tasks data of insured persons list size is, size of that list. And size of that list is now 3. Yeah? And therefore, I also changed the insurance price value. So this is actually what I did in this action that is reacting on set event of that add button. And the last action that is reacting to an event, to a set event of a data field, is delete button. So delete button has set, and in that set we have this action, and actually we already know what this action is doing. If we go here, and if I am just taking this and changing them to delete, so the question is, what will happen when I'm clicking on the delete button? I should go through all these entries in the task ref list, and I should first remove those cases from caseref, or remove those tasks from taskref, and delete them. And this is what I'm doing in that action. So this is just the mapping again. And this is actually all what I do, what I just said. First removing tasks, then removing cases from caseref, then deleting those cases. And with this line 14, I'm just changing the insurance price, because when I remove 2 people, so size of that list is smaller, so insurance price should be smaller. So the 14 is again the same as in the previous action, it's just recomputing insurance price. So now we have to concentrate on this. What is actually this? What is this code? I'm just saying, okay, take tasks, data of insured person. This is actually this task ref. This is this task ref. Here in the value of this data field are now 1, 2, 3 different IDs of 3 different tasks. And what I'm doing, I'm saying for each of them, for each ID of task data of insured person that is there are 3 IDs. There is ID of this, and ID of this. Yeah? And I'm saying, okay, take IDs of those tasks that are in that list, and for each of these ID, do this, I would say 6th line, because here is just a parenthesis. And first is that find task, because I just know ID. This is just find task with that ID. Find task with that ID, with this ID. So because I'm actually storing just IDs of these tasks. So this line is saying, okay, take this ID and give me this task. This is what is saying this line. 6. Find task. It ID equals to ID in that list. Find that task. Store it here. Yeah. Once you store it, find case where the task is. Yeah. Find case such that it ID equals case ID of that task. So first of all, it is from ID is finding that task, because there is difference between ID of the task and between the task itself. So when I have the task ID, with find task, I'm finding the task with that ID. And when I once have that task, then I'm finding the case that has the same ID as that task has case ID. So actually it is finding the case of that task. This is doing the line 7. And storing that case in case insured person. So here I have that task. And here are that case. Yeah. So in that way, I am going through each and every of these tasks and those cases of where these tasks are. And for each of them, if that case get field value to delete, what is get field value to delete? This is actually, this is to delete. If this value is true, so it's true for first and the third one. So we will give here like A, B, C. So it's actually true for surname A and surname C. Yeah. So, and in the case that it is true, this line is actually in similar way as I was adding task to taskgraph. I am taking that old value of that taskgraph, and I am removing this ID that has to delete true. I am removing that. And I am also, after I removed the task, from this task graph, so actually I will remove it from this list here. I will remove it as a task, but it is still in case ref. So I am going back to that action. I need not only to remove that task, but I need also to remove it from case ref. So this is that case ref. And remove means that changing value of that case ref, taking the old value minus that case and its string ID. In that way, I am removing string ID of that case from this case ref, because case ref and task refs are lists of string IDs and not lists of tasks and cases themselves. So there is difference between ID and between the object itself. Yeah. And after I did it, it is actually what I promised. I remove this one and I remove this one as tasks. So then I remove these both cases of those tasks from this case ref. And at the final, I am calling line 11. I'm calling workflow service, and it's delete case method, and here giving just ID of that case that should be deleted. And that's all. And this is why when now I am clicking I'm clicking on delete, it actually deleted those tasks, then deleted those cases from case ref, and then deleted those cases from database. This is what happened. Yeah. And now the only thing I need to explain, I will go back here. I need to explain, I see insurance summary has no events, and here in conclude insurance contract, I already explained this assign event, and I need now explain to these two finish events. One is in pre, and it is very simple event. What is actually doing this event? Here is a mapping. Yeah. Actually, what should I do? Actually, I need to find these tasks. I need to find this task, insured person in process insured person. I need to find this task for all cases that are in that case ref and add them to task insured persons, to this task ref. This is what I'm doing. So, sorry. This is what I'm doing. So, I am taking this task of data. I need to do it before I conclude the task, because after I conclude the task, I will actually finish in that action. What I will do is actually, I am in this state. I'm here. I'm here pressing on conclude. So I'm actually in this state. Sorry. I'm here in this state. I'm going to press on conclude. Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to press on conclude. What do I need to do? I need to take all these existing tasks. I need to take them and finish them. And I need to find these tasks. But this task doesn't exist and still. I just need to find these tasks and finish them. So we go there. So I have here, okay, take all of these tasks. So task data of insured person, that are these tasks, these, of my children. And for each ID in that list, find that task, because I have just a list of ID. Again, this could be done much more low code than it is done now. But once you master it, then you can repeat it, because you just know that I have IDs in a task ref, and given that ID, I just call something like that, and this will give me the task for that ID. Yeah, we can simplify it in the future, but now we were like saying, okay, give me that task for that ID. This is actually what is happening in line 3. So go through that list. For each ID, give me that task, store that task here. This was not very fortunate. Maybe see this name of this variable differs from this name of variable just in this S here. These are all the tasks, and this is just that one task in that list. Yeah. So here I found that task, and I finished that task. This is nothing more what I did. I did actually, so if I am adding here a couple of more, I'm just going through all of these IDs, finding these tasks and finishing, finding this task and finishing, finding these tasks from its ID and finishing. And this is what I'm doing. And when I'm clicking on conclude contract, sorry, I forget to give here a required data field. So this is what is done. So when I did it, so actually when I was here, when I clicked on this conclude in pre, it actually clicked on that finished that T1 in all of the children, in all persons that were on that insurance. So, and all of them are now in that state. Yeah, all of them are now in that state. So in pre-phase of finish, I finish them. And in post-phase, I need to find these tasks and add them to that task ref. That is here. Yeah. So actually, in this task ref, tasks insured persons, I need to add all tasks that have case ID that is in the case ref. Yeah. So the last action that I have is this one. Very short. So this is the mapping. And I'm saying, okay, change tasks insured person value in such a way that find all tasks that case ID of those tasks is in the list of cases of insured persons, and its transition ID is T2. So find all these T2 tasks. So find all tasks that case ID of those tasks is in this case ref, and ID of those tasks is T2. So it is finding these all tasks and setting them to that variable tasks insured persons. Then that is displaying now here. So to this task ref. And the only thing I needed to do, so when I did this find tasks, then I actually really found the objects. But I already know that in task ref I have IDs and not objects. So I need to actually make this backwards. In the similar way as I had IDs, and through find task I found tasks to those IDs. Now I found tasks, but I just need to store their IDs. So therefore I am here calling method collect and saying, okay, and for those tasks, collect in a list their string IDs. And in that way, I actually set this value of this here, which is actually value of this here, to IDs of these tasks of the children cases of the insurance. And therefore, I see them all here. So this is actually how you can create relationships, and more or less we covered all what you need to build even much more complex projects. Here, the only difficult thing that you have to actually consider is, and we will work on that to simplify it, that you need to find IDs for and collect them for tasks. And another way, from collection of IDs, you need to find either tasks or cases. But once you master these two lines, one is from collection of IDs, or from one ID to find that task or tasks, case and cases. And other way around is to have collection of tasks and collect their IDs. Find some tasks and collect their IDs. These two tricks, together with this small trick with dividing the whole identifier into workspace prefix and actual XML identifier, removing that original one and adding the ID of the, I would say, process in relation. This was the only trick that we needed to do. So these three tricks, and otherwise, once you master them, so we will also include to that video these two simple examples, and you can maybe copy and paste those lines and just change the identifiers or change the identifiers of data fields and data variables in your own example. So actually, this is everything for today. This was our first example of interprocess relationship and interprocess communication. This is actually what is going on in object-centric processes. So object-centric processes differs from classical processes in that interaction. in that rich relationships, imagine that we had three kinds of relationships. First is that we can store in data fields IDs of tasks and cases of instances that are in relationship with the instance that is storing them. So this is the relationship on data level. And the second kind of relationship that we had was this synchronization of events. This was kind of behavioral relationship. For example, if I am creating by add button an instance here, I should also in that instance assign this. And if I am here concluding insurance contract, so finishing this one, I should also synchronize finish on all my children. Yeah, so synchronization between events. This is the second kind of relationship. And third kind of relationship is through those tasks as subtasks, or if you want, forms as subforms. And I could have a list of subtasks, like here, for example. Here in one task, I have 3 tasks or list of tasks as a part of that form. So I can have relationship on data level, on behavioral event level, and on, so to say, user interface level, yeah, through forms as subforms, or lists of forms as subforms, if you want. And these 3 kind of rich relationships enable me to build really complex applications. So hopefully you will enjoy this first example of interprocess communication, and see you later.